So today we're going to be going over The Choice is Obvious by me, Jordan Warbuff. Sorry if I sound a little bit sick, it's because I am. But yes, so we're going to be going over what my recommendation is for what companies should use in the training process. Our agenda is the introduction, the problem, the comparison, the benefit, design choices, and then of course we're going to have our references so that we can give credit. So first we have the introduction. Now for this we have claims and focus. The claim is that integrated multi-user VR platforms provide the most effective, scalable, and collaborative training environment for today's businesses because it's an emerging technology. It wasn't available before, but now that it is definitely one of the best ways to train a client or to train somebody coming on to your company or your business. So the focus will be the of this presentation is that it shows why multi-user VR outperforms standalone and PC-based VR systems in training, collaboration, and long-term value. So it's time to look at the problem that VR can fix and why businesses will benefit from implementing a new training system. So let's look at what the problem is. The problem that businesses face is that traditional employee training fails. Now, it often fails because it's costly to keep up. It does a bad job at exposing clients to realism or what the job will really be like. It's inconsistent. Depending on the trainee, they might get a different training experience. And it has an inability to simulate real or complex situations that you're most likely going to go through as an employee, but you don't have a good chance of seeing it. So VR technology helps these limitations. This way, clients this is because clients need training that is faster, safer, more accurate, and just overall more engaging. Now, the comparison. So we have pros and cons. Pros for standalone VR is that it's affordable and it's easy to use. Standalone VR sets are normally what you see in school settings. They're just a VR set. You might put your phone in it, but for the most part, it operates on its own. There might be two buttons you can click on the side. That's generally what a standalone VR is, but it has limited immersion. This is a big deal because you need to be immersed into the training setting to really benefit from it and to retain the information. Now, PC-based VR, it has high realism. PC-based VR is the best in the market when it comes to exposing realism and exposing to good immersion. PC-based VR, you would normally see first of all, it's the first type of VR system that there was back in the 50s. I believe that's when it was first created. The first you would have a hand-mounted display that came down from the ceiling, and you would connect it to your face. That was connected to a PC. So that type of PC then. So it's just the most pushed ahead, and it's one of the best VR systems, but it's very expensive and it's difficult to scale and use long term, and also to use across the board. So if you have multiple locations, you're probably only going to have it at one location because it can get really expensive to have it. And you can only train one person at a time with it unless you have multiple of them, and then that's more expensive. Multi-user VR, strong immersion. It has real-time collaboration, supports skill acquisition and engagement. They put the cons on here because generally when you have a multi-use VR, it doesn't have many cons. It might be weaker in realism than PC-based VR, or weaker when it comes to affordability and standalone VR, but it's still pretty affordable. I mean, one of these might cost you $300, $200, $100. So it's pretty affordable, and the realism is immense. It can get very realistic. So it's kind of hard to say it has a con. It just might not be the best in areas that PC-based VR or standalone VR thrive in. All right, so comparative analyst, this essay I wrote, it just was a recommendation. So it went all over what the criteria was for standalone VR, PC-based VR, multi-user VR. We can see that for cost efficiency, as shown in table 1, this table here, multi-use VR systems have the highest overall score across the evaluation. Its ability to support shared virtual environments, enterprise analytics, and cloud-based scalability makes them the most effective training tool for modern businesses. Cost efficiency is for standalone VR, of course, wins that. PC doesn't do well, and multi-user VR is kind of in the middle. Immersion, of course, PC takes it. PC-based VR takes it. Standalone, not so well. Multi-user VR is in the middle. Collaboration, that's multi-user VR's coup de grace. It's best placed. PC-based VR does in the middle, and standalone VR is the least. Scalability, it goes to multi-user VR because you can use it across the board. I mean, you can have somebody who's in California collaborating with somebody who's in Japan. I mean, realistically. So it takes the cake there. PC-based VR, it's okay. You can still have cross-world connection like that, but it's just not as collaborative. And standalone VR, I'm not really sure of any systems that have much collaboration, to be honest. Scalability goes to multi-user VR, standalone VR is in the middle, and PC-based VR is the least out of this category. And then ease of use goes to standalone VR, is because it's not very complex at all. PC-based VR can be very complex. It depends on the model you get, and then multi-user VR is kind of in the middle there. So multi-user VR takes the cake. Second is standalone VR, and PC-based VR is last. Now, this is just in ranking for effectiveness when it comes to clients, to training employees. When a business wants to train an employee, this is a criteria strictly based on how effective it is, not what is best overall, what is more fun, or anything like that. So let's talk about the benefit. So the benefit for VR, for clients of multi-user VR, is that multi-user VR gives team collaboration, remote multi-location training, higher engagement, long-term cost efficiency, and consistent repeatable training. You can use one of these headsets for many different employees, many different situations. It prepares employees the faster and safer way, and multi-user VR platforms provide a balanced and progressive solution to the crisis sort of that companies are facing with trying to train new employees. Design choices explained. So I use this color scheme kind of because it's my favorite, but I also kept the consistent coloring, and I highlighted and put emphasis on the important points. So like embolden certain aspects of the presentation so that it was easier to read. Icons and images, I only used one picture. I put that in the references, and I cited it as well. But otherwise, I just used icons from the actual PowerPoint software. This was just to draw attention. Layout and text, I used short bullet points and balanced spacing. I kind of expanded on them vocally instead of putting too much gobbledygook on the screen. So it's easier to read. If you're not watching me, you can still understand what's going on. charts and data, that was all sourced for me. I did a recommendation analyst paper. So all the information and stuff that I researched, looked over, read, hours and hours of research. And then contrast and readability, that touches again to the color scheme, but high contrast between what the text is and what the background is so that you can focus on the readability and the most important aspects. This is references. I'm not going to read all these, but you can take a look at them at your own. And then the bottom here is the picture as well, just in case you couldn't find it. And thank you. That is my presentation. I hope you enjoyed and have a good day. Bye-bye.